Hi everyone and welcome. You're watching Eagle News. I'm EJ Gonzalez in Washington. It's Saturday, February 12th, 2022, here in the nation's capital, and here are this week's stories. The state of New York lifts its mask mandate. New Jersey and Delaware also rescind their mask mandate. In Canada, we have a reaction from healthcare workers to the anti-COVID mandate protest as it makes its way to Toronto. New York's Consulate General shares with Eagle News absentee voting information for the upcoming 2022 Philippine elections. Thomas I. Likeness, our correspondent at large, talks about the pandemic, protests, and easing of health restrictions. He has several other stories, including the tale of an Indonesian crocodile that was freed after spending 5 years trapped with a tire around its neck. On Oceania at a glance, the National Cultural Commission of Papua New Guinea gears up for 2022. On Embassy Files, the Japanese embassy hosts an Ukiyo-E inspired photo competition for this year's National Cherry Blossom Festival. Find out later what Ukiyo-E is all about. In sports, NASCAR thrills fans with a historic season opening exhibition race at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Los Angeles hosts Super Bowl 56, and the city couldn't be more excited. And here at home, the Washington Wizards' Kyle Kuzma earns his first career triple-double in a win over the Nets amid a trade frenzy. Plus, on our new segment, Glow Up, the first episode is all about cleaning the face in 5 easy steps. And of course, on Behind the Counter, chicken tinola is on the menu. Our coverage begins now. As the surge of COVID-19 cases eases, New York State is telling people they can now take their masks off. Eagle News correspondent Melanor Tenhueco tells us the requirement to be masked while in indoor public spaces has been eliminated.
New York statewide indoor business mask or vaccine requirement was lifted on Thursday. This emergency temporary measure was put in place 2 months ago to fight the spread of the Omicron variant. Statewide, COVID cases are down 93% since the peak on January 7th, with cases and hospitalizations declining. Governor Hochul consulted with experts and local leaders to determine the next steps in facing the pandemic.
And at this time, we say that it's the right decision to lift this mandate for indoor businesses and let counties, cities, and businesses to make their own decisions on what they want to do with respect to mask or the vaccination requirement.
The mask requirement will remain in place in certain high-density areas. This includes state-regulated healthcare settings, nursing homes, correctional facilities, schools and childcare centers, homeless shelters, bus and subway stations, and planes and airports. The mask requirement in schools will be assessed in early March. Governor Hochul announced a new winter toolkit to help keep New Yorkers safe. It focuses on 5 core areas: protecting the most vulnerable New Yorkers, increasing vaccinations and boosters, strengthening our healthcare system, empowering local leaders, and supporting individuals facing the long-term effects of COVID. As the state loosens restrictions, the governor is still reminding New Yorkers to remain vigilant and to get vaccinated. Melanor Tenhueco, Eagle News, Rochester, New York.
Thanks, Melanor. Also getting rid of mask mandates are the states of New Jersey and Delaware. EBC's Myla Simbulan has the details.
As the number of COVID cases winds down, mask mandates are lifted across the country. Here in the Delaware Valley area, the number of cases has decreased by 90% compared to early January of this year when the surge of Omicron variant started.
Made a decision.
Delaware Governor John Carney announces that masks are not required in indoor places such as convenience stores, grocery stores, gyms, restaurants, and this started February 11. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has also made a similar announcement, ending the mask mandate yesterday. However, the school mask mandate for New Jersey will end March 7. Meanwhile, the one place in the greater Philadelphia region where indoor masking has yet to get an end date is in the city of Philadelphia. Department of Public Health officials say they are not ready to drop the indoor mask mandate here yet. According to the Johns Hopkins University Coronavirus Tracker, more than 900,000 people have been killed by COVID-19 related causes in the United States. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the current 7-day daily average of cases is about 247,000, down from a daily peak of about 800,000 in early January. Myra Simbulan, Eagle News, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Myla. In Canada, a protest by people opposed to COVID-19 health restrictions is now entering its third week. Ontario Premier Doug Ford declares a state of emergency in an effort to end the blockade of border crossings and the occupation of the nation's capital of Ottawa. That measure brings fines of up to $100,000 and a year in prison for people who don't comply. The protest, dubbed the Freedom Convoy, has hit several Canadian cities, including Toronto. Eagle News correspondent Joshua Santillana tells us healthcare workers staged a demonstration of their own in opposition to the Freedom Convoy.
Last week, on Saturday, February 5th, Toronto saw a mass protest organized by the same group protesting in Ottawa, known as the Freedom Convoy. The trucking convoys are known to be moving across the country, aimed to protest against the mandate the Canadian government announced on January 15 of COVID-19 vaccine requirements for all truck drivers entering Canada by land. The protesters gathered in downtown Toronto, causing major roadblocks in the city. Traffic was not the only issue. Several Torontonians took to Twitter to express their concern with the level of noise the protest would cause, as many hospitals are situated in the downtown core. Vice Chairman of Eurasia Group Gerald Butts posted a photo saying, "Many of the buildings you see are hospitals, full of sick kids, cancer and cardiac patients. Blowing horns all night would do harm to people." Many healthcare workers were advised to make sure they were not identifiable as healthcare workers outside of the hospital in order to ensure their safety. A report made by the Toronto Police Operations states that amidst the demonstration, an individual was arrested for assault with a weapon by throwing feces at another person. The anti-mandate protest was met with a counter-protest with the group consisting of healthcare workers and their supporters. A major topic of concern is the increasing amount of hatred associated with the anti-mandate protest. Some protesters held signs encouraging racism, anti-Semitism, and other forms of hatred. The Canadian Trucking Alliance, CTA, responds, stating that the majority of the trucking industry is vaccinated, and those protesting do not represent all truck drivers, only a small few. Furthermore, the CTA brings into attention that many of the protesters are not linked to the trucking industry and are possibly using the protest for their own separate agenda. In Toronto, Joshua Santillana, Eagle News.
Thanks, Joshua. In just a few months, voters in the Philippines go to the polls to elect a new president. Philippine citizens living outside of the country are eligible to vote. Late last year, EBC's New York Bureau Chief Joanne Seriano had an opportunity to sit down with a Philippine consul in New York to talk about the upcoming election.
In New York, we reached out to the Philippine Consulate General to find out the current status of absentee voting for the upcoming presidential election. Let's hear what they had to say.
First of all, I'd like to limit the discussions to voter registration because we are not yet into the actual voting yet. So as a backgrounder, overseas voting registration for next year's election started in December 2019 and it ended October of this year. And the good news is we had a total of, there was a more than 200% increase of the number of registered voters for next year's election compared to those who registered for the 2019 election. It's actually a 205% increase Because in 2019, we only had around 4,024 Filipinos who registered as voters. And for this year, we had a total of 8,264. It's more than double. And this is a trend that's usually noticeable when the national elections are for president and vice president.
What steps were taken to ensure good voting turnout despite the pandemic?
We had a very healthy campaign to encourage qualified Filipinos who have not registered yet to register for next year's elections. So we went out to the different states under our jurisdiction during our consular outreach activities. So there are 10 states under our jurisdiction, and we strongly campaigned with the assistance of our Filipino community partners to encourage Filipinos to register as overseas voters. And this would include former Filipinos. We encourage them to reacquire Philippine citizenship and become dual citizens, so they may also reacquire their right to vote. And we have had several Saturdays where we kept the consulate open for this specific purpose. And I think that helped boost up the number of new registrants.
No, I agree, and the turnout shows that it worked. And lastly, why do votes of Filipinos overseas count?
Because Philippine policies affect all Filipinos regardless of where you are. And this is one right where each citizen really has the power to decide the future of the country. Because as a citizen, we basically have more or less two choices: accept things as they are and do nothing, or try to do something about it and help chart the future not only for ourselves but for our children and grandchildren as well. And this can be done through the power of the ballot. And this is why we really encourage all qualified citizens to participate. So registering is the first important step, but the second and more important step is, of course, to go out and vote. Because when you register and you don't vote, then it's really not as effective. So that's the next challenge that we all face, is how to encourage all registered voters to participate. We really do not dictate who they should vote for. We leave them up to their own evaluation and good conscience. But what we do want them to do is, number one, go out, participate, and vote. And number two, regardless of who may win, whether this is your candidate or not, to support the new leadership of the country, because that is the only way for us to really move forward and prosper.
Joanne Soriano, Eagle News, New York, New York.
Again, that interview was conducted last year. May 9, 2022 is Philippine Election Day. Thanks, Joanne. Our correspondent at large has several stories for us today. Thomas I. Likeness comments on pandemic protests in Canada, a deadly mudslide in South America, and a trapped crocodile before taking us on a virtual hot air balloon ride.
And now, news and commentary from around the world. It's been over 2 weeks now since the Freedom Convoy protesting pandemic restrictions has occupied the streets of the Canadian capital of Ottawa. These days, the protest is looking more and more like a weeks-long tailgate party, the type you see outside the stadium at a football game. Protesters whiling away the hours playing hockey, singing songs, cooking food in makeshift fire pits on the streets. Then there's the odd fiery speech from one of the many conspiracy theorists who've attached themselves to the group. The noise level has been reduced lately since a judge granted a temporary restraining order to stop the protesters from incessantly honking their horns. People in Ottawa who have to live with this adult temper tantrum, well, they're fed up. Ottawa Dr. Patrick Lai is not impressed.
As someone who works in healthcare, I just feel like, when they say I've done the research, it's not the kind of research that I'm talking about when they say I've done X amount of research. So I just feel that, if I don't tell you how to drive your trucks, don't tell me as a healthcare worker how to do my job.
The latest tactic this past week has been blocking major border crossings into the United States. Up here on the screen, you can see the busiest land border crossing in North America. It links Windsor in Canada to Detroit on the U.S. side. Truck traffic here moving at a snail's pace, and sometimes it's halted completely. You know, that's put a lot of jobs at risk in both countries. Tens of thousands of people face layoffs because essential goods are not being moved in a timely manner. But hey, this is freedom, or at least so the organizers say. Meanwhile, several provinces in Canada have eased COVID-19 restrictions. Alberta, where I live, got rid of the vaccine passport. The announcement, though, came on the day that hospitalizations took a big jump. But at his news conference, Premier Jason Kenney assured Albertans that the protesters and politics did not play a role in this. Opposition politicians not as convinced, though. They say he's caved in to the protesters. Enough of this for now. Let's move on to other things. South America. Tragedy in the country of Colombia as the power of nature shows its destructive hand. Heavy rainfall triggered mudslides that buried several homes in the impoverished community of Dos Quebradas. At least 14 people confirmed dead. Searchers continue to dig through the mud, looking for more victims. Bad weather now in outer space. I'm showing you images now of a geomagnetic solar storm. You know them as solar flares. These happened back on January 29th, but the effect of this radiation, which has been pulsating through space, the effect has been felt over the Earth's atmosphere in the past week. Now, back on February 3rd, this SpaceX rocket carried 49 low-orbit satellites into space. Most of those satellites are now falling out of the sky because of the effect of the solar storm. No danger of the debris hitting anything. The space junk will be burned up upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. An animal story now. An Indonesian crocodile is tasting freedom for the first time in years. The reptile has been trapped in a tire. That's right, a tire, for more than half a decade. Government biologists couldn't come up with a solution. Last year, the government even offered a reward to anyone who could free the croc. So along came a 34-year-old bird seller. His name is Tilly. He says he couldn't stand to see the animal suffer any further. So Tilly used chickens as bait, some ropes to snare the croc. Took him 3 attempts with the help of others in the village. They helped him drag the animal out of the river and secure it so that Tilly could cut the tire around its neck. Once free, the croc was released back into the water. And Tilly, for his efforts, well, he's in line for that government reward. With all the chaos and calamity in the world, let's take time out for a little bit of peace and quiet. I want to take you all on a hot air balloon ride. I wish I could do that in real life, but I can't. But we can go on one virtually. This is what our ride would look like as we float over Peñaflor on the outskirts of Santiago, Chile. Now, this is nothing like flying in an airplane or a helicopter. You know, if you ever get the chance, take a ride in a hot air balloon. It's unbelievably peaceful. Some say it's the closest thing to being like a bird. I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Back in 7 days, Thomas I. Likeness, correspondent at large, Eagle News.
Thanks, Thomas. Oceania at a glance now. The National Cultural Commission of Papua New Guinea is gearing up for a big year in 2022. Echo Hortaleza Quinola, EBC's correspondent in New Guinea, tells us more.
I am here at the APEC building, Port Moresby, to witness the official launching of the National Cultural Events Calendar 2022 and the Annual Operational Plan 2022. Recognized as the most active government agency, the National Cultural Commission of Papua New Guinea launches 2 significant events at the APEC House, Port Moresby: the 2022 National Cultural Events Calendar and the 2022 Annual Operational Plan. Minister of Tourism, Art and Culture Honorable E.C. Henry Leonard says the National Cultural Commission flourished even in the height of pandemic.
And that is where we started going across the country promoting our festivals. Whether it be Sipik, whether it be West Nipperton, Manus, Milne Bay, Central, or anywhere else in this country, culture must be promoted in terms of festivals.
He mentions what he describes as strategic documents of solid planning, organized visions, and achievable objectives.
We are a country blessed with so many cultures. I think we are one of the last frontiers in the world where we still hold onto a culture of more than 800 tribes and languages. We have a lot to offer using our culture to develop tourism in this country. We therefore must continue growth in this industry by promoting our arts and cultures through performances and exhibition. By doing so, we will contribute towards fulfilling the government's plans captured in the Papua New Guinea Vision 2050 and the medium-term development plans. To provide a timeline of events in 2022, the Commission once again has developed the Contemporary Cultural Events Calendar through the Annual Operations Plan. This calendar will go towards assisting the Commission, organizers, participants, and visitors alike with sufficient time for advanced planning and preparation for their respective events.
Director of National Cultural Commission Stephen Kilanda says the launch signifies the agency's important role of combining cultural heritage that shapes the traditional and contemporary societies as they embrace the year 2022.
We have launched almost 77 cultural shows and festivals around the country. Most of the cultural shows and festivals are from the rural settings. Since COVID-19 in the country, we decided that we have to go rural. Our minister has given us direction to go rural, so we have started launching and developing those festivals at rural settings, at community level, at village level, and at the district level. COVID is here, but we can't wait for COVID. We have to move with the country, we have to move with the world. So we have to apply the COVID protocols, and we have to carry on. At the same time, we have to carry on with the programs and events. Nothing can stop us from, carrying out our activities and programs. So it's very important for a country that we can't wait. Otherwise, our culture might die out. So we can't wait. We have to continue on developing and preserving our culture. And that's one of the important things. And another thing is we have to launch this annual operation plan. This annual operation plan is the year plan. The work programs are captured in this annual operation plan. So it's a very important tool to assess the performance of our corporate 5-year corporate plan.
Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Oceania at a glance, Eagle News.
Thanks, Echo. It's cherry blossom time again in the American capital. Eagle News correspondent Orlino Campo brings us a story about an Ukiyo-E inspired competition that will be part of this year's Cherry Blossom Festival.
Every year, come springtime, the National Cherry Blossom Festival takes place here in Washington, D.C. It is in celebration of the friendship between the United States and Japan. 2022 will be the 110th year since Japan gifted the nation's capital thousands of cherry blossom trees. Part of this year's festivities, the Japan Information and Cultural Center, or JICC, along with American University, will host a flagship exhibition for the National Cherry Blossom Festival called Exploring Hiroshige and His Influence on Social Media. Photo enthusiasts are invited to submit creative shots for possible display. Yutagawa Hiroshige was a Japanese Ukiyo-E artist known for his influence of the art movements. Some of his well-known pieces are his 19th century series, The 53 Stations of the Tokaido, 100 Famous Views of Edo, and 36 Views of Mount Fuji. Almost 200 years later, his creativity is still admired. Ukiyo-E, similar to today's social media posts, is a genre of Japanese art consisting of paintings such as female beauties, landscapes, travel scenes, along with wood block prints. Ukiyo-E is artwork accessible to people, with color palettes comparable to filters and even an invitation to travel for those who could not go to places portrayed in person. The exhibit explores similarities between Hiroshige's prints and the works received through this contest. The images that portray Hiroshige's aesthetics will be displayed. For more details on the rules and compositional elements expected, check out us.emb-japan.go.jp. Submission deadline is March 1. Stay tuned to Eagle News for more from the nation's capital. Arlene Ocampo, Embassy Files, Eagle News.
Thanks, Arlene. Now, drivers are revving their engines as NASCAR holds its season opening exhibition race for the first time in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. That story from Eagle News correspondents Alan and Eva Basalyahe in this week's EBC Sports International.
Welcome to the Clash at the Coliseum! Woo!
Here we are at the Clash at the LA Coliseum. Let's go NASCAR!
For the first time in NASCAR history, the preseason clash takes place at the iconic Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum.
And for those going to a NASCAR race in person for the first time, one of the things they'll discover is that the engines are so loud, no matter how you sing at the top of your lungs, no one will be able to hear you. Observe. A quarter-mile lap, or short track, was built in the Coliseum, which makes for a dynamically frenzied, tight-turning race.
And out of a field of 23 racers, it was Joey Logano driving the number 22 Team Penske Ford who, after taking the checkered flag, treated NASCAR fans to a celebratory burnout. Before marching up the steps from Victory Lane to solidify his moment in history.
Preceding the race, we spoke with ticket holders at NASCAR's fan event who were more than happy to express their passion for the sport.
We're huge NASCAR fans. We were born and raised watching NASCAR. Our dad loves NASCAR. We actually bought him tickets to this race for his birthday.
And this is actually our first NASCAR race.
Yeah, that we're attending.
I've been a NASCAR fan most of my life. I watch more F1, but NASCAR's never been to LA, so this is a big deal.
This is my first time, so I don't really know what to expect, but I'm really excited. It sounds really cool and everything looks amazing set up.
I've been a fan for maybe the last 5 years, it was introduced to me. So I'm a Kyle Busch fan, go Kyle, that's what I'm most excited to see.
I got into NASCAR a while back. I stopped watching it because, I hadn't had the stuff to watch it live. So this time I'm going to a live event, so I'm very stoked to see that.
I expect to see some cool things. The tight turns, pretty short track, quarter mile. It's pretty awesome. It's gonna be sick. It's really fast cars just turning left. So what can't you like about that?
To be honest, I've never seen a live short track race. I've only seen the large one in Fontana. The smaller tracks should be more interesting, a lot tighter races, a lot more bumping and rubbing and getting things a little more intense.
One topic, almost as important as the race itself, was a discussion about making LA City proper a permanent venue for NASCAR.
I think it's a really cool experience with having it so close and having so much history here. It's just really awesome to see it here.
It's fun. It's fun. He was actually talking about coming to LA and he didn't realize we were in LA today. So once he got here and realized what it was awesome. And it's not far from home. It's only 30 minutes. It was great, easy drive. So if this happens more often, hopefully it will, and we'll be back for the next one.
Please, continue. There's fans here. There are fans here in California, and we want to see more.
I would love if they brought it back here more often because it's an easy drive from Phoenix, so we could come back here anytime it's in LA again.
I think there's as many car people out here as there are on that side of the US. So NASCAR, keep doing this. Look around, there's a lot of people.
We go straight to the source to pose the question, could sizable attendance and fan satisfaction ensure future NASCAR races in LA? Alan Basoyahe, Eagle Broadcasting. The pandemic restrictions in Los Angeles is a little more elevated than at other cities. How did that factor in logistically? And the turnout, though, we're going to assume you're still pretty satisfied with.
I would say logistically, we were pretty well schooled in different states, different counties, where you had to go due to COVID, from no fans to partial fans. So, part of this was making sure we're in lockstep with what the rules were going to be. I think our team, Tom Bryan and the whole crew, did a tremendous job working hand in hand with all the local authorities to make sure that we were there. And back to your crowd question, the crowd met every expectation we had going in. So when you look at the naysayers prior to, when you look at where we were with the Flash in Daytona, it's a home run. And I think the enthusiasm, the demographic, a lot of young people out there having fun is exactly what we want.
While the clash at the Coliseum doesn't count towards standings for the season, drivers battle fiercely. Because let's face it, who wants to lose?
With live performances, pre-race activities, and adrenaline-fueled driving, well, no one did. Lose, that is.
Evan Allen, Eagle News, Los Angeles.
Thanks, Eva and Alan. Now, Los Angeles is hoping Super Bowl 56 proves to be a winner for both the hometown Rams and the city itself. Eagle News correspondent Marites Herrera has that story.
This is the first time Los Angeles has hosted the NFL's championship game, and the city has been working behind the scenes for months to prepare for it. Fans will be able to watch the game live in SoFi Stadium. The league is hoping it will also be a draw for folks at home. Last year, viewership was disappointing, dropping below 100 million. On the business side, organizers and city officials alike are hoping for a winner. Economists predict Super Bowl 56 would bring in just shy of $500 million during and after the event, and up to 4,700 new jobs, some of them long-term, could be created. Most of these jobs will be in the hospitality, food services, and transportation sectors. For Los Angeles, which has been hard hit by the pandemic for the past 2 years, it could be a big economic shot in the arm. So where is this money coming from? Organizers expect the event will draw about 150,000 people. While they spend time here, visitors are expected to spend an average of $350 a night on accommodations and another $300 a day on things like food and football merchandise. Organizers admit COVID-19 has dampened enthusiasm for the event, and there are concerns about the amount of traffic that is likely to hit Los Angeles over the weekend, and as well as security and trash cleanup services. But despite of the inconveniences, Angelinos are hopeful Super Bowl 56 will give the city a much-needed boost in both its morale and its economy. Marites Herrera, Eagle News, Los Angeles.
Thanks, Marites. Now, the Washington Wizards held on in a nail-biter to earn the win over the Brooklyn Nets, 113-112. Ken Cruz got the players' reaction about the game and going into the contest after a frenzy of NBA trades.
With both the Nets and Wizards lineups depleted due to injuries or trades, this game was set up to be disappointing. But the result was far from that, as the teams kept the game close throughout, and it came down to a last-second three-point miss from Kyrie Irving for the Wizards to secure the win. Kyle Kuzma had his first ever triple-double with 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. And also, at the end of the third quarter, you had double-digit points, double-digit rebounds, 9 assists. What was on your mind coming into the floor with the triple-double watch?
I mean, I knew I had 9, but I was just trying to make the right play, honestly. Really not trying to downplay it, but, you know, I just tried to be aggressive, find open man, and, you know, try to get the win. That was the most important thing. You know, nobody wants to triple-double when you lose. That sucks.
Both KCP and Kyle Kuzma said the vibe was different today, as the players were able to let out a sigh of relief of not being traded.
Vibe was just different from everybody. You know, even just walking into the locker room before the game, you know, smiles, you know, everybody just up, jolly. You know, I'm just glad it's over. I'm really happy for the guys that are here, and you know, they can really just, you know, ease their mind and just play basketball. You know, that's the most important thing right now. You know, we just want to have fun and just try to collect W's, because we haven't had much of that this year.
And the Wizards showed their relief by playing freely and logging in 29 team assists. The Wizards will need to continue the stuff with play moving forward in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. For Eagle News, Ken Cruz, we live in interesting times.
Thanks, Ken. Now, in our Glow Up segment today, EBC's Bernadette Regini shares with us 5 easy steps to clean your face. Bernadette?
Did you know that the skin is the largest organ of our body? Throughout our life, our skin goes through so much. So why not take a few extra minutes in the day and at night and take care of our skin? The most common question I receive is, what are the steps in a skincare routine? Welcome to Glow Up, where we share experiences on our journey to becoming the most beautiful version of ourselves, both inside and out. I am your friend Bernadette. But before I begin, I must say, I am not a professional. I am simply a skincare and beauty enthusiast who wants to share my personal experiences on how to glow up. And today, I will share with you my personal skincare routine that I do every night. So this is an evening skincare routine. Now, what might work for me might not work for you. So before you consider changing your skincare routine, be sure you consult with your dermatologist. Now let's get started.
So depending on my day and how much makeup I have on, or if I have any makeup on, I use a towelette or a makeup remover wipe that I will use to loosen up the makeup before I go into the following steps. But here you can see me starting with a cleanser. I never recommend using a bar of soap. You know, a bar of soap has all these fragrances and that can actually dry your skin out. But I use a foaming cleanser that has microbeads in it, so it exfoliates and purifies my skin. So if you're looking for a cleanser, be sure you find one that is not harsh and abrasive on your face. You want something that gently cleans your face. After I wash my face, I pat dry with a towel. Don't scrub your face with a towel. You just want to simply pat dry your face. Afterwards, I then use a toner. Some people ask, is a toner necessary? But it really just depends on your skin. I use this particular toner to even the appearance of my skin and prepare it for moisturizer. After the toner, I then use a hydrating serum. Now, I used to think that serums could not be used for oily skin because on the T-zone is my oily areas of my face. But I was wrong, and this particular serum I use has helped balance my skin's moisture levels. So be sure you apply the serum all over your face as you see me doing here. After the serum, I then use an eye cream to help with the dark circles and fine lines around my eyes. And I use my ring finger. I learned that the ring finger is actually the weakest finger, so it will apply the less pressure around the eyes. And lastly, I use a nighttime moisturizer. The moisturizer is the last step since it acts as a barrier and locks in the moisture that my skin needs. So as you can see, my nighttime routine takes 5 easy steps, and it takes about 5 minutes every night. I cleanse, I use toner, serum, eye cream, and then moisturize. Now, if there is any other beauty-related topic that you would like to share with us or want us to talk about on our segment, be sure to comment below and we'll try our best. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I am Bernadette Regini, Glow Up, Eagle News.
Thank you, Bernadette. Now, are you hungry? This might satisfy your appetite. We go behind the counter now with Aika Era and Ethel Constantino and learn how to make chicken tinola.
Hey, I'm Aika, and welcome back to Behind the Counter, where we see easy and tasty meals be brought to life. Today, we have a recipe that we definitely couldn't stop checking out. Here's Ethel Constantino with chicken tinola.
I have just the right and simple soup recipe that's perfect for this cold and rainy weather. This keto chicken tinola or soup is cooked with chicken slices and chayote in a ginger-based broth. Start by preparing your aromatics. Slice your onions, chop your garlic and ginger. Peel and slice your chayote. Prepare some oil, fish sauce, salt and water. Make sure that your chicken is cleaned and washed properly. Heat up your pan and oil. Saute your onion, followed by the garlic and ginger. Add in your chicken meat and let it brown a little bit. Add a little fish sauce while you continue to saute. Then add your water and let boil. Add in your sliced chayote and cook until soft. Season with fish sauce and a little bit of salt according to your taste. I hope you enjoyed this recipe of keto chicken tinola. Ethel Constantino, Behind the Counter, Eagle News.
Thanks, Ethel, for your take on chicken tinola. Check back here for full recipes, and if there's a dish that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. Catch us on EagleNewsLive.com, on our Eagle News YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. Check back next week when we go Behind the Counter.
Thanks, Aika and Ethel. I think tinola is for today's dinner. Now, thank you all for watching. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I'm EJ Gonzalez. Happy weekend, everyone.